Hey, yeah, we just got out of Nam Kong.
Is it wrong to call it Viet Cong?
I was thinking during the movie, I was like, I hope that's why, that's where the idea for this movie came from, is there was some guy just thinking, Viet Cong, Kong, King Kong, Viet King Kong, Vietnam King Kong.
Perfect!
I love that this movie exists. I love it so much. I love the idea of this movie. I'm like, why hasn't this happened sooner? This perfect combination of awesome Vietnam movies and a giant monster movie.
Because, yeah, I mean, thinking back, like even during, like, that era, like, the only real, like, monster movies that were out there like that, like, big, like, monsters like this were, like, the 70s Godzilla movies, which were super, super campy.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's kind of interesting that, you know, it's like, when they actually go back, like, let's try doing it again in the 70s, but actually really try this. And it's fucking great.
It is. This movie is a blast, man. I mean, it is an excellent love letter to King Kong movies, to monster movies in general. And again, like I said, stuff like Apocalypse Now, Platoon, Full Metal Jacket, that stuff is all over this movie, and it is gorgeous. The movie has a rockin' soundtrack, and
Yeah.
and it has exactly what you would think would be on the soundtrack.
I mean, it runs down the list. We've got Jefferson Airplane. We've got
Time Has Come Today.
some fucking CCR. We've
Yeah,
got
Run
this-
Through the Jungle. And
Got some Stooges. Like, it goes down the list, and like, they carry that fucking record player with them at all times.
Uh-huh.
When they're doing, like, the flyover of the island, like, kick on, like, the outboard sound system on that one chopper.
Yeah.
Like, this is, like, yeah, like they're like, let's do, like, this really in-depth war movie.
Mm-hmm.
But also King Kong.
Yeah.
Because at times that's almost how it feels, like especially in, like, the first half before shit really hits the fucking fan.
Mm-hmm.
Is it definitely just, it feels like a war movie that happens to feature King Kong.
I know. And it works together excellent. Like, it goes hand in hand with each other.
It gives such a better reason for a lot of the stuff that's happening. Like, there's a lot of these movies like this, not necessarily, like, big, like, you know, kaiju movies in general, but just any sort of, like monster movie, horror movie type like that, like creature feature type movie, where it's, you know, a couple, like, science nerds and then, like, elite special forces guys.
Uh-huh.
It's like, why are there all these fucking elite special forces guys here? I mean, clearly when shit goes wrong, you're gonna need a lot of guys carrying machine guns.
Uh-huh.
But I like that this actually had a good reason for it.
And these poor guys are about to go home from Vietnam. This takes place in 73.
This takes place the day after the declaration of, like, ceasefire.
Yeah. Nope, you're not going home. Most of you were going to be killed by a giant gorilla.
It's like these guys were like 2 days away from getting on a plane and going back to wherever the fuck they came from. And they approach Sam Jackson, this like colonel who is just crushed because of, like, the fact that we lost the war. Like, he doesn't want to come to terms with that. Like, he has no idea what his purpose is. Like, he seems like he's a career military man, and without an enemy, without a fight, without something like that, like, he's questioning, like, what the fuck is even the point of him? Like,
and the movie plays with that because it has we're basically following two different sets of characters, but because when they get on the island, a lot of them end up splitting up into two groups. So you have one group that kind of gets to know what everything is on this island and how it works and why there's these monsters here and why something like Kong needs to be there. But then you also have Sam Jackson and his platoon, and for the reasonings you just said and other reasons too, it's like this is a battle they want to win. They want to win this. They want to kill King Kong.
Well, and it's not even so much them. Like, the men are following orders because that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in their mind, even though, like, this has gone completely to shit,
Mm-hmm.
they're still, like, you know, this is the military. He's above me. He tells me what to do. That's what we do. He says we're going left. We're going fucking left, and we're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys are like, even when they know that this shit is wrong, they still stick with him because that's what the fuck you do.
Yeah.
Which you gotta give them, like, you know, credit for that, but at the same time, like, it's like these poor fucking saps, like, half of them realize how dumb this is, but this like they got marching orders and they're just gonna fucking march. It's fucking Sam Jackson has just lost his goddamn mind.
He is so good in this. There's some crazy shit in this movie, like, seriously, like, because it does start out like it's a movie. Like, you see this in the trailers where it's got these beautiful shots where, like, they are fucking torching this island. They're looking out their helicopters, and you see, like, the explosions reflecting in their aviator sunglasses and things like that. But then, man, it goes south fast. And, like, when you see that stuff in the trailer, like, Black Sabbath is playing in the movie, and, like, seriously, like, carnage happens pretty fucking fast in this movie. This isn't any, like, waiting till the last 20 minutes bullshit.
And that's a thing that I absolutely fucking love. And I think, honestly, they in that regard, I think they kind of took some of the critiques and criticisms they had from the Godzilla movie here a couple years ago, where it was such a long simmer until, like, it finally ended up, like, big monster shit happening. This one here, like, technically you see Kong within the first, like, 5 minutes of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then, honestly, it's probably maybe another 20 minutes and shit is just going insane. Like this thing, like closes out, like, the first act of the film on what should be, like, the climax of almost any other film.
Oh yeah, like, and plus he is scary in this. Like, he's legit, like, chilling in this movie. Like, when it's got, like, him, like, the silhouette bleeding into the sunset, like, in the background.
All the framing they do for him is insane. Like out of, like, yeah, like the sun setting in the background and him just in front of it, just silhouetted, but, like, you're not, like, the camera's not focused on him, so it's just this imposing figure that you can't quite discern, but you know it's not fucking good. Or, like, like later in the film where they're, like, you know, when they're setting, like, that trap and there's all those explosions everywhere, and then just suddenly giant explosion, and you just see him just standing in the middle of just this fucking just plume of fire going up.
He pops out of fucking napalm fire in this movie, man. Like,
he pops out of fucking everything.
Oh god, yeah. This movie
comes up out of the water, comes up out of the fog. Like, for being, like, 150 feet tall, he hides surprisingly well.
Yeah, he does. So you'll have, like, King Kong fighting a lizard mixed in with shots that look like, you know, like Willem Dafoe's Last Stand from Platoon. And it's so good. Like, it is, because this movie's a PG-13, but it's really, like,
I would have assumed that this was an R, the amount of shit that was happening.
This movie's as graphic as a lot of Vietnam movies, and also this movie has shots in it. Never mind Vietnam movies. This movie has a cannibal Holocaust moment in it.
Yes, it does, and that's why I just assumed this was like, oh, this has to be an R. A man just got stabbed through the mouth.
Yeah, just, you know what I mean? Like, fucking cannibal Holocaust. Like, that shit's in this. People set on fire. People just ripped apart by, like, birds with saws for beaks. It's amazing. King Kong is stepping on people left and right in this film. By the end of the movie, King Kong himself is bloody to shit from just being on fire from napalm.
oh my god, like this is insanely graphic, and yeah, that honestly very much surprises me that it's PG-13.
There are 80s slasher movies that are not as bloody as this film. This movie is...
There are almost every horror movie I've seen in the last 15 years that aren't as graphic as this movie.
The only reason this is a PG-13 is because this is a mainstream Warner Brothers film. That's the only reason.
This is one of those where like they crowbar their way through like the rating. It's like this should be an R, guys. Like, come on.
There is a part where
like, what if we just don't have people say fuck at every moment where you know they're thinking in their head, fuck.
Or how about the lizard monster vomiting up a poor Toby Kebbell's skull that's still like bleeding acid off of it? Not to mention the fact that Kong kills one of the beasts by reaching down his throat and just pulling out his stomach and intestines.
Fucking everything inside it, like out
it's
the mouth.
Like it's fucking City of the Living Dead by Lucio Fulci.
Like the last time I saw that amount of organs coming out of something's mouth, I was watching like Dead Alive.
Yeah! You were sitting next to me with this happen and you just went, ah, gross!
Again, this movie, there's no reason this is a PG-13. This is about as much a PG-13 as fucking like Temple of Doom.
Or Predator. Like, honestly. This movie does have some similarities.
Surprisingly, quite a few, actually. Yeah. When you think about it, like, no shit. Is that how that one point whenever they see like the giant bloody handprint?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, that's fucking right up there. Like I have expected like Sam Jackson to say like, if it can bleed, it can die.
Yeah. You were mentioning the Gareth Edwards Godzilla a minute ago, and because this movie doesn't do what that movie did, which was cutting away from the action most times it happens, which honestly I feel is something you shouldn't have to tell somebody, at least in how that movie did it. This movie, they're both in the same continuity with each other. This movie is wildly better, but the 2014 Godzilla has an amazing third act. It does. It has a great third act that you will carry that high with you for a bit, which is why I was pretty glowing about it when we originally reviewed it. And it's a fine movie. It is. And it does have a great third act, but you gotta sit through a lot of bullshit to get through what is really good about that movie. This movie doesn't have that.
Yeah, this one, like where it felt like that movie had to finally build to a head to reach that point, and then from there on, like once they start like from when they start doing like that halo drop like into the city. And like that, like it's like that, like visually, like style wise, like the definite like tonal feeling of it and everything, like that's the feeling this movie carries through its entirety.
Yeah, they were smart about that with this movie. They really did. They really did listen to a lot of criticisms there, because the 2014 Godzilla it's not a bad movie. It's fine. There are great moments in that movie, but again, like I said, you do have to sit through a lot of bullshit in that movie. You got to sit through Gareth Edwards cock teasing you every 5 minutes, and also the nothing characters that were in that film.
And I think a problem of that was he's you know, a huge fan of like Godzilla movies and just big like kaiju movies. That he really tried making that one going past even being like a love letter to the original Gojira, but like almost being like an homage to it. That, I mean, yeah, to be fair in that one, like you only get like glimpse and you know, like sneak peeks of things happening up until you finally get to like, you know, towards like the third act of the film when he really like reveals himself in full. Like before that you just see like odd snips of like stuff in the distance, or like
they're about to fight and then it cuts away, and what it and look, but there's plenty of movies that do stuff like that well, where it's building to a huge climax at the end, and it's got a slow burn to it. The problem with where they went a little bit wrong in the 2014 Godzilla is that there wasn't anything else interesting that was carrying it.
But
at
yeah,
all.
and that's the tricky part with like the Godzilla movie formula is basically there's always two different plots running simultaneously. You know, the we're tracking Godzilla and seeing what's going on and him leveling destruction, and then like some human drama in the background between like, you know, like a family that got separated
Yeah.
or shit like that. And that's the tricky balance, because there's been several of the original like Japanese films that have also like screwed up that dynamic, because it's hard sometimes to carry on like these two vastly different stories that just happen to be overlapped into like the third act when it all like meets up together. You know, it's a tricky balance, and that's one of the reasons why I was kind of like forgiving with that one is like it's like yeah, like I can't fault him for doing a thing that like in the original like main, you know, movies, you know, from Toho. It's like they screwed it up plenty of times themselves. Like,
And even then, it was a screw up too. Like, I mean, it wasn't. You know, like I said, I mean, you need something else to carry the movie if you're going to keep cutting away from shit that much.
yeah.
So yeah, there are older Godzilla movies that did stuff like that well, where Godzilla comes into it late in the movie, and then that's your climax of the film. There's ones that did it totally well, and then there's ones that, you know, were
Yeah, like a lot of times in like Godzilla 1985.
yeah.
Like, yeah, he's around in the movie, but most of the movie he's just trying to like fuck off from people until like finally he just shows up and just tears the shit out of Tokyo.
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember a lot of those movies though either, like doing a thing where like the monsters are about to punch each other, and then when they're just about to connect, it cuts to fucking, you know, Aaron Taylor Johnson doing bullshit. Like, that was really annoying.
Like, let's see what's going on back home with him.
No, what's not? Like, so, are you sure Cranston's dead? Really? Oh, Christ, for Christ's sake. This movie, though, it's an ensemble film, and there you have people like Samuel L. Jackson, John Goodman, John C. Reilly, and people like that, easily, like, carrying the moments of the movie that don't have monsters in it, that don't have monsters fighting in it. This movie's not wall-to-wall 100% just King Kong fighting a bunch of lizards all the way through it. No, there's plenty of times with the people, too. But luckily in this, you've got Samuel Jackson there, you've got John C. Reilly, you've got John Goodman. And yeah, there are characters that, look, I don't fucking know their name. This is a big cast. There are characters there that are only there just to get killed. But of course there is. There always is in something like this.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys in that unit. Like, that was one of the things I thought, like, whenever they first, like they were getting ready to head towards the island. I'm like, okay, they're gonna take over like a chopper. No, they send over like fucking like 15 choppers full of guys. I'm like, oh no. Well, that's not gonna go very well.
Some of these people are gonna get eaten and stepped on and set on fire. And they do. God.
But even after all, like, the initial carnage...
Oh, there's
like,
more.
but there's still, like a good, like, 20-some people alive.
Yeah.
But it is just constantly people getting picked off. Like there weren't a whole lot of moments where I really felt that any of the characters were gonna be safe.
No.
And,
No, not at all. Like, when you have, like, walking by trees and it turns out that's not a tree, that's actually a spider.
that's as tall as the trees. Which, dear God, it's a good thing Letty didn't come to this movie.
I was thinking the same thing about Laura, too. She hates spiders. That's a problem I have to take care of whenever there's a spider in the house. Like, I got this, scooping up paper. Run, free, little gentleman. I'm very nice to my bugs.
Top hats on them as well?
I gotta get Dave to like spiders somehow. Let's give him a jaunty song and dance number. Reenact the Cobweb Hotel cartoon.
Don't think that's gonna help.
He'll be fine. But yeah, that happens in it. There's one part where Toby Kebbell is sitting on a log, but that's some kind of log bug.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's like one of those like walking stick insects, but it's the size of like a fucking semi-truck.
That's the thing that like Winnie the Pooh got stuck in. Jesus Christ. It turns out it's alive. I mean, in this movie, as far as the main characters go, I'd say the least interesting one out of all of them was Tom Hiddleston, but it's not like all the other interesting characters got killed off in the first 15 minutes and we're stuck with him. That's not true. His character in the movies is really not that interesting, honestly.
Yeah,
but,
they build him up like, and I mean, he does a fine job. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, they build him up like really, really heavily. Is like, it's like, oh, it's like he's like this, you know, tracker guy. He's former like SAS, like, you know, he's all this and that. I mean, yeah, he holds his own through the whole movie, but like there's never really anything that's like, it's like, yeah, that's the exact reason why they need him on this team, is like,
yeah, there was nothing like that, and he is outshined by a lot of the other characters in this film. So yeah, this movie handles its weaker elements in terms of characters way better than Godzilla did, because the movie doesn't kill off its interesting characters in the first 15 minutes. When I was watching Hiddleston in the movie, I was thinking, and he's an actor I like. He's an actor that honestly has kind of saved some movies before in the past, like, or at least made me not really dislike him all that much, but the movies. But in this, when I was watching him in this, I was thinking that someone more so along the lines of like a Jason Statham or a Clive Owen or somebody like that, is somebody a bit more grizzled action movie would have really helped a character like this.
Yeah, and I can definitely see that, like Clive Owen especially.
Yeah,
like, I could see that working out like a lot better. But
you know who would have been amazing? Josh Holloway. He can handle weird shit on an island. We know this.
Yeah, that honestly, I would have bought that.
Yeah, that would have been so... Man, movies, give him another shot.
The last movie I saw him in was Battle of the Year in 3D. Come on.
Right?
But I think what helped, though, is that because it is like it's an ensemble cast, but they actually really stick to that.
Yeah,
is that
they do.
It never comes across that like he's the only like action movie, like one man army type, you know, action star. It's like, no, like he gets his ass saved about as many times as he saves somebody else.
Oh yeah,
and pairing him up alongside with like Brie Larson and
she was good.
Corey Hawkins. You know, like it kind of rounded it out where like I feel like a lesser version of this script would have had all of those characters as one person almost.
Yeah.
Where like you're like, oh well, he's like scientist guy who's also like the action guy, but can like somehow has like he's able to connect with Kong in a meaningful way.
Fuck. Yeah.
Like I feel like a lesser version of this script would have had a lot of these people just combined.
Yeah, well, yeah, and this is the kind of movie that it's obviously studied like these kind of action movies pretty well, so they're smart enough to know to cast a lot of these people in terms of like the actor's personality, you know. Like this isn't the kind of movie that's gonna have a script that has like these like hugely three-dimensional type character arcs to them or anything like that, but or at least not for most. Some of them do, but by and large not a lot of them. But they're smart enough that in that kind of movie, in that kind of action movie, you know, it is about personality and gravitas and charisma to carry stuff like that.
I think that really helps, like especially in characters that they don't have a lot of chance to flesh out too much. Like even like Corey Hawkins, like his character, like he doesn't have a whole lot to do most of the time. But you get such a good feel for his character and his personality that it makes up for the shortcomings, and I think that's a good testament to him as an actor, and also like just the script and the directing, like being able to like bring that much to a character that, like I say, like by and large, like he doesn't do a whole lot through the film. Like like for like the first half, he's just kind of like second fiddle to John Goodman, and then after that, it's kind of him and the Asian girl are just kind of like, and also these people are with them. But it does a good job of like really kind of like he doesn't get like a full like character arc like some of the other cast members. It kind of glosses over that in a way that I think works out really well. It's like same with like you get a good feel for like honestly like all of like even like just the random like military guys.
No, you do.
Like each one of them has like a definite quirk about them in a definite way that they are, and they're very true to that as the movie goes through.
You have like what you were saying about Corey Hawkins is also kind of the case too with like the John Goodman character that could have been played very two-dimensionally if you didn't have an actor involved who can kind of sink their teeth into what's on the page, and John Goodman does that here. Like he really does make this feel like a person. Or
he could have came out in a very different light, like again like a lesser version of this script. He would have come across like straight up villainous.
He would have been like the lawyer from like Jurassic Park, who's like the guy who like, okay, when is he gonna get killed? Like he's obviously gonna get killed at some point.
But yeah, it's like because he leads them there under all kinds of false pretenses. Like he didn't know exactly that there was like a 150-foot tall gorilla on the island, but he fucking knew something.
Yeah, and he plays it so well that you can see the obsession in his eyes that this guy is carried with him for like 30 some fucking years. But they add little things too, like with Toby Kebbell's character, who like it's frequently referenced to the movie, this letter that he's writing back home to his kids, which is a thing he's in this movie that you definitely would have seen in a Vietnam movie.
Yeah. Honestly, his character was one of the few things about this movie that I wasn't a huge fan of.
Oh, really?
And most of that, honestly, is because of the accent he chose.
I didn't really notice that, honestly.
It was just such a weird accent. Like, is it Texas? Is it... I don't know what the fuck, like...
Oh, God, no, I didn't notice that. I didn't notice that at all.
Yeah, it was just a weird accent he chose, and it was just... It didn't alter my viewing experience of the film.
Sure,
really,
sure.
But it was just one of those things. Is like that's such an odd choice that like every time he had lines, it just like, oh right, weird voice.
I never noticed that, but I'm always happy when I see him in something that's really good. Because I've always liked Toby Kebbell, but he could be saddled in some shit sometimes, like Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Ben-Hur. Like, but I've seen him in a few decent things here, recently. I wasn't the biggest fan in the world of, A Monster Calls, but he was great in it, and it was better than Fantastic Four, and from what you've told me about Ben-Hur.
Yeah, surprisingly, movie not good. Although, speaking of Ben-Hur, that actually makes me think. I was genuinely surprised at the runtime of this film.
It's like exactly 2 hours.
Yeah, it clocks in just at a clean 2 hours. Like, it's definitely not a short film by any measure. Mm-hmm. But I was full well expecting this to be pushing like 2.5.
I was wondering too. Part of me, I don't know if I was wondering that just because the last King Kong movie was 3 hours,
that you'll never get back.
Maybe. I don't mind that movie, honestly. Like, keep in mind, I've not seen it since it came out in theaters. I've not gone back and rewatched it, but from what I remember in 2005, I at least remember thinking like, "Well, this is a good epic King Kong movie." If I'm gonna watch a King Kong movie again, it's not gonna be the 2005 one. It'll be the 76 one, or it'll be the original.
King Kong Lives.
Oh, fuck God. I will watch 2005 King Kong like 3 times in a row before I'll watch King Kong Lives again. Fuck. That movie feels way longer than 3 hours. Jesus.
Yeah, the Peter Jackson one, like, there's basically, like, there's, like, 3 things at this point that I can remember about it. No, wait, 4.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Kong fighting a T-Rex.
Yeah.
Jack Black's big, like, flourish reveal
Mm-hmm.
for Kong. Naomi Watts.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just because it's Naomi Watts. And I remember the ridiculous title of the video game tie-in for this. Because it was, like, the full title of the game was, like Peter Jackson's King Kong, the movie, the game.
Rolls off the tongue.
Right? It's almost like it was written out, like, as, like, a filler title by, like, a marketing guy. Mm-hmm. It's like, we'll pitch something stronger later. And somebody's like, so put this on the box, huh? All right.
What I remember about that movie was, I remember I did really appreciate that Peter Jackson wanted to make this big, gigantic King Kong epic, and he did. It is a big 3-hour epic, you know, like, and I was moved in a lot of scenes in that, because it's a movie that, we all know how that movie ends, and so when you're sitting through that movie, and you have scenes where Kong and, like, Naomi Watts are together and stuff like that, like, I remember getting pretty teared up in it, because you know how the movie's gonna end. So, there were aspects of the movie that I thought were effective. I don't know how it holds up. I haven't seen it in 2005, but it was a long movie.
Well, I think in a way, because I don't remember, right around that time, I don't remember there being any other, like, big monster movies. Like, from what I remember, like, that kind of is what, like, the catalyst that kind of kicked off, like, sort of a revival in big monster movies.
A little bit, I think.
Because it wasn't too long after
you mean
that.
just domestically?
Well, yeah, I mean, around that time, like, you still had, like Tokyo SOS and stuff like that happening.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, at that point, like, those were just, like, you know, either, like, strictly to Japan or just, like you know, like, niche films that,
they
like,
were stuff I had to catch on video when I was working at like, Hollywood Video.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's how working at Hollywood Video is how I saw, like, Final Wars and The Host and a couple of other things.
But yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, it kind of feels like it was around that time. It was like that's when you started seeing stuff again, like, you know, like The Host. You know, I think not too long after that, because I don't think it was before 2005.
I can't remember.
But then, like, you know, like, around that time, like, even if it wasn't before, but it was right around that same time, like, you had stuff like The Host, and then, you know, like, Cloverfield, and it just kept seeming like
Cloverfield.
Like, there was more and more, you know, interest being paid to this, kind of bringing us up closer to where we are now, where we have things like Pacific Rim and you know, like, a relaunch of Godzilla.
Yeah.
And, you know, it seems like it's getting things moving in that direction. So, like, I can at least give the Peter Jackson one that. Like, I wasn't a huge fan of it. Like I saw it, I thought it was okay. Like, it wasn't anything like I was like I wasn't, like, upset after watching it. It was just, like,
me neither.
Like, after I was done watching it, it was like one of those nights where it was like, I started watching it and the sun was up, and then I look outside, like, fuck me, it's dark.
Yeah.
Fuck, how long was this movie?
Fuck, it's 2 a.m. God damn it. You're gonna be working 3 hours. Yeah, I saw it I saw it back in the theater. I haven't seen it since, but, like, in terms of, like, how I'd compare this to some other one, like, I like this. I had more fun at this than I did at Peter Jackson's King Kong. I like this a hell of a lot better than I liked 2014 Godzilla. As far as the others, I don't know, like, I always really liked 76 King Kong. I did. It is really that is really sentimental to me because it's the first King Kong movie I saw. I saw that when I was really little. That honestly might be like the first big monster movie I saw was 76 King Kong, because I remember watching it with my dad. And it wasn't until I was way older that I knew that there were a lot of people that didn't like that movie, but it's really sentimental to me, so I'm like, I don't know, it still holds up for me.
It's like I just like Jessica Lange. I don't know.
Yeah, Jeff Bridges and evil Charles Grodin. Like, what's not to like about that movie?
Unless everything you need.
Yeah. Don't you want to see King Kong straddle the Twin Towers at the end of it? And it's way fucking better than King Kong Lives. King Kong versus Godzilla is fun.
That one I always liked.
Me too.
Like that's one I know I saw when I was real little.
I did too. Yeah.
All those different like Godzilla ones, like
when they used to show them on TV all the time. Like,
yeah, it's catching them on TV.
Yeah.
Like I know a few of them I saw during like I can't remember what the name of the program was.
Monster Vision.
No, it was on Saturday mornings. It's like super spooky Saturday or something like that.
Nice.
It was like an old like horror host program. It was hosted by Grandpa Al Lewis from the Munsters. I remember seeing a couple of them on that.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother had a lot of them on VHS. So like usually like family holidays and stuff. There was always like it's like, oh, what's going on in here? People eating like turkey. Oh, what's going on in here? Oh, Godzilla fighting Megalon. I'm like,
Godzilla eating a giant turkey. Very Godzilla Thanksgiving special. You are like the Pilgrims, Godzilla. This is a weird mixture of different traditions here.
Just like the Pilgrims.
I usually saw them. They would show them on TV a lot on like a. I would see them on TNT sometimes growing up, and also Sci-Fi Channel too. Would show them quite a bit. But I highly recommend this movie. I had a blast at this, man.
Yeah, it's a fun watch. Like it honestly didn't even feel like 2 hours.
It really doesn't. This shit moves along at a good pace.
But yeah, like there's no lag. Like as far as like monster movies go, like this is for monster movies what stuff like The Raid is for like action movies. Like as far as how fast of a pace you can go for a monster movie, I think this is pretty much like a full like run.
Yeah. If you know, like if you're sold by King Kong meets Apocalypse Now, boy, do I have a movie for you. That is amazing. It's amazing in theory, and the product is pretty fucking great, too.
Honestly, they could have even cut out most of the dialogue, because there's always something happening. They could have cut out all of the dialogue and just given us a solid, like, Vietnam War soundtrack and just called this a 2-hour music video experience, and I still would have been totally fine.
That would have been like something I would have made, like, in one of my old multimedia courses. Yeah. Like, I just combined footage from a monster movie and, like, a Vietnam movie and just put All Along the Watchtower over it.
It's like, this is epic.
Yeah, man, I'm in the shit. Alright, next week is, oddly enough, coming after a king, is Beauty and the Beast.
The other big monster movie of the summer.
Yeah, that was, that one's coming up, next week. I'm not sure if that takes place in Vietnam or not. I have no idea.
If it doesn't, I will be very disappointed.
It's the same. Same here, but from what it looks like, it's a shot-for-shot remake, so that's totally necessary.
You gotta let me know how gay it is. Apparently that's a huge controversy.
Because they made LeFou gay, my first thought was,
Wasn't he?
hey, thank you, yeah. Like,
Buddy and I were talking about that this morning because she was showing me something about some like Midwest mom who's like, "What am I supposed to tell my kids? Like, I can't take them to see this movie. We're canceling our vacation this year because we're never going back to Disney." They're like, and
I like that a person like that has no problem with the bestiality.
yeah, never mind that she's falling in love with an 8-foot tall lion man with horns
Uh-huh.
who has serious emotional issues. Like, he's very, very fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're fine with that. Oh, it's a good thing he turns into a handsome guy at the end. Otherwise, wow. That next day at the castle would have been really fucked up.
This reminds me of, I was watching one of Phelan's videos the other day, and he did this I think it was Good Times or Golden Films version of Hunchback of Notre Dame, where at the end of it, Hunchback turns handsome and,
Oh, thank God.
and then marries the woman at the end of it, because thank God he's handsome now.
Just the way that Dumas wrote it.
That's okay. There was another one where the Hunchback, when he falls off the bell tower, he sprouts wings outside his Hunchback and flies away at the end.
Oh, that's why he had the hunch the whole time. We were just stuck in there.
Oh, I love it when shit like that fucks shit up. God. Alright, so next week is Beauty and the Beast, and I'm not sure what else, but yeah, go check this one out.
Yeah, go see it. Yeah.
See ya.